Lord Seventh,
is a priest novel. This is an audiobook made by fans for other fans. Disclaimer. The main couple of the story is made up of two men. If you don't like it, don't listen. Thank you. Remember, subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on all the new releases. Enjoy. Chapter 11. Reciprocal Gift Giving. Despite the teen being a beautiful jade tree facing the wind with an aura of grandeur, looking incredibly heartwarming and eye-pleasing, Jing Qi expressed that he was very unwilling to meet him. The alleged post-morning court was really just going to routinely wait outside of the throne room at dawn for a spell. If a manifest was had, it was sent up. If there was nothing to do in the morn, one ought to temper themselves and call out a greeting to all the gentlemen there. If wanting to rope them in, they would be chatted with a bit more. If they weren't pleasing to the eye, chafing sentiments would be slipped between words. Afterwards, every single person would scatter, going to do whatever it was they should be going to do. The emperor was too busy drinking tea, hearing performances, and feeding birds to have time to listen to them make a scene. For that reason, when Helian Yi arrived at the prince's estate, it really was quite early. As Jing Qi had only been 10 at the time of his arrival in the human world, he had a childish voice, but the words that came out of his mouth contrarily had an adult's traits. A few of his phrases every once in a while would merely make others smile at him being a little grown up, but putting too many of them out might cause people's hairs to stand on end. He was also too lazy to feign immaturity, so, aside from that completely guileless fool Pingan, he had been getting increasingly unfond of leaving home to interact with people these years. Still having a bit of understated apprehensions towards Helian Yi in himself, even with the bit of affection he had that he wasn't going to heed, he lazily donned the style of bonelessly sleeping in, never to awake, on the regular. As time went on, His Highness the Crown Prince surprisingly got accustomed to it, and only considered that this boy, ever since the senior prince's death and following his bout of severe illness, appeared to have nothing wrong with him, but nevertheless had his foundation harmed during his childhood. Always looking to be a little tired, he who had formerly been so lively, with a bellyful of rotten tricks, was even lacking in words these few years. Jing Qi was awoken by the noise of him coming in. Upon dazedly opening his eyes to glance at him, he subconsciously furrowed his brows, pulled the covers up, turned over to put his back to him, then continued to sleep. Helian Yi showed up very diligently and everyone had gotten used to it after such a long time, so Jing Qi didn't feel like lecturing him on any kind of etiquette, either. The Crown Prince was naturally aware that he was non-enterprising, intending to muddle through life until his death. At the start, he had wielded his seniority and rank to tell him off a bit, but later on, he completely understood that setting this hunk of rotting wood up so that he was acceptable to look at was undoable. Even so, they were friends growing up since childhood, somewhat closer than blood brothers. In addition to the boy having a hard-to-come-by mind that had no sort of utilitarianism, he was at a minuscule age yet enjoyed the quiet, so his place was good to hide away in and slack off at. Helian Yi would sometimes get a headache from being blasted by the stinking wind and bloody rain in court, and would thus come and sit for a while in this prince's estate that was just like a land outside of the world. His heart settled down by the time he left. For that reason, he was always even-tempered and slightly patient with him. Not bothering about his rudeness, he reached over to pat him through the blanket with a smile. "Are you intending to fatten up by the end of the year? Whenever you eat your fill, you sleep, and whenever you sleep your fill, you eat. There isn't a single pot-bellied pig that's as hard-working as you are. Get up." He then turned to peer at Pingan, who was in the middle of rubbing his eyes and yawning, and shook his head, mentally commenting that servant really was like master laziness went together. Go fetch water for your master and have him wash up, he ordered. Ping An agreed, walking out with a wobble. Helian Yi turned back around to immediately catch sight of Jing Qi having a rather no matter what calamity you throw at me, I'm going to keep sleeping freely look. Both angered and amused, he went and forcefully smacked him twice. Jing Biwen, get up. Which Shishan is it? I submitted a manifest, and Father Emperor already approved it. You're to enter court and listen in after the new year. Will you be this exhausted when that time comes? Listening to his no-good torment, Jing Qi sluggishly held the blanket as he sat up. Listen into court. Are you still not going to get up and put some effort in, so that those sour high scholars can't joke that you're a hedonistic second gen later? Ping An came in with the fetched water, bringing along a boy servant named Ji Xiang. The latter came in to assist Jing Qi in changing his clothes after he was done freshening up, and Helian Yi got up to go sit at the side, with Ping An hurriedly steeping tea for him. Jing Qi allowed Ji Xiang to move him to and fro, as if he had not woken up from his doze, and only lazily said something after half the day had passed. I additionally request that your highness submits another manifest for his holiness to revoke the order he's issued. Helian Yi picked the gaiwan up with both hands, slightly lifting its lid as he looked at him with raised brows. You'll be 15 after the new year, and entering court is standard. If you don't want to do proper business, what are you going to go do, then? Jing Qi hid his face to give a yawn, his pair of peach blossom-esque eyes half open and dense with moisture. Seeing this, Helian Yi was startled, then lowered his head to drink the tea and cover it up, ruefulness in his heart. He didn't know when, but the other had grown from a child that was puerile-voiced, yet spoke like a little grown-up, to such an elegantly handsome, jade tree-esque teen that had a bit of a weary, noble aura between his scowls and laughs. Having inherited the late prince consort's charms along with the senior prince's grace, he might later be a figure that would make a city full of lovelorn maidens be unable to sleep at night. However, all he heard was that pretty, jade tree-esque youth talk at a snail's pace, a slight nasally voice brought along with it. What am I going to go do? There's no good jobs, so how about I beseech the Emperor's grace to let me go keep watch at the Imperial Mausoleum. He yawned again, wiping the tears away with his fingertips. Whenever I want to sleep is when I'll sleep, and whenever I want to get up is when I'll. He didn't get to finish talking before Helian Yi slammed the gaiwan to the side of the small table. Ping An jolted, speedily swallowing down the yawn he had caught from Jing Qi's own exhaustion, lowering his head, and not daring to say anything. Jing Qi used an unawake face to blankly gaze at Helian Yi with, its expression completely innocent. Really, he was gold and jade on the surface, but ruined stuffing on the inside. Rotten wood couldn't be carved. A wall made of dung couldn't really be sullied, either. How old are you now, to be so unambitious? Helian Yi scolded. You were born into a family like this yet dare to say words like that, do you not have prospects for the future? Jing Qi had since sobered up, watching this little youngster as he berated him for being unlearned, unskilled, and thoroughly unambitious with a gravely serious, taut face. He was laughing on the inside, but on the outside, he kept looking at him in stupefaction. Presently, on the open surface, the one who managed the dynasty was the wildly gesturing shopkeep Helian Pei. In secret, it was that mad dog Helian Zhao who caught and bit whoever, and that panty-waist Helian Qi who had innards full of twists and turns. With whom should he mix with to have prospects? Helian Yi faced off with him for a long time. Countless words bubbled forth in his heart, though all of them were held back. He couldn't get truly angry towards that uncomprehending, embroidered pillow face of his. All he could do was sigh, massaging the space between his brows. Get up now and eat something. High Scholar Lu's having a birthday today, and Father Emperor personally bestowed him rewards. Go over and take a look, in any case. Jing Qi grappled with the possibility that this young man would go ahead and puff up if he didn't say anything right now. Impulsivity was a very unacceptable thing. As expected, Helian Yi glared at him. You're still dawdling. Jing Qi inwardly sighed, feeling himself to be a bit of a good-for-nothing. Upon tidying himself up, the congratulatory gifts and such had long been put in order by Ping'an, so he didn't have much to worry over. Bringing something to mind, he then gave an order. Ping'an, run over to the Chaminade estate for me and ask whether their master is attending the banquet or not. If he's going, then invite him to go with us. He paused, turned his head to shoot a look at the pensive Helian Yi, and added something. Inform him that His Highness the Crown Prince will also be there. Ping'an gave confirmation and left. Though he had many complaints in his heart, he was long familiar with running off to the hostage's estate, and even that gang of fiendish Nanjiang warriors had all gotten familiar with seeing him. The most ill-tempered one, called Ashenli, had once hooked his arm around his shoulder and invited him to drink a pot of medicinal wine. Of course, after he learned that its contents were infused with the 5 poisons, he came back and vomited himself inside out. Neither joy nor anger could be made out on Helian Yi's face. You and this Chaminade, walk close together, he asked half-consciously. Jing Qi slightly inclined his head, avoiding the other's measuring gaze. Is that not the Emperor's intention? He replied, downplaying it. He hopes that you can get a lot closer with the Chaminade, too, Your Highness. Helian Yi believed that the Chaminade was not any sort of good news. He had dangerous methods, a face that was covered all day long, and a sinister aura inside and out, but he wasn't willing to needlessly make enemies, either. He seemed to have Helian Pei's protection, as well, on the basis that Helian Zhao tried every way he could to aim at him over these years yet never nabbed his handle. Wu Shi was isolated in his residence, and it was extremely rare for him to interact with outsiders. Apart from messing with Jian Saizong back in court, he practically didn't come into contact with anyone at all. Second child Helian Qi was constantly keeping him on his mind, but who could have imagined that he'd just been kicking a stubborn chunk of iron that was unaffected by both force and persuasion. It was rare for Helian Qi to lay down his posturing to curry favor with someone, and he had quite something of a persevering attitude. What a shame that the Chaminade's doorsill was too high up. Someone with no understanding of decorum was naturally not someone Helian Yi wanted Helian Qi to assist. If he happened to have a decent personal relationship with Jing Biwen, then even if he was of no assistance, he wouldn't be a hindrance. Turning this all around a few times in his mind, Helian Yi then put a smile on his face. What about Father Emperor's intent? How great would it be if you expended all that cleverness of yours on proper business? By coincidence, I'm frequently curious about this Chaminade as well, it's just that he's probably unwilling to pay attention to us common folk. If you're familiar with him, then you may as well refer me to him. What familiarity? We're neighbors, is all. Giving face isn't bad. Although Jing Qi was speaking carelessly, in his mind, he was confident that Wu Shi would surely come. In spite of the number of times he'd seen Wu Shi not being as numerous as the times he'd seen Helian Yi in these years, he'd still sussed out a bit of a pattern in the Chaminade's personality. For instance, the kid typically wasn't one to love getting into trouble, but when someone made trouble for him, he didn't care whether they were an all-powerful person or a relative of the emperor. His anger had to be vented before he'd talk, and he would have to pay back even the smallest slight. On the flip side, If someone was good to him, he would instead feel uneasy and always a little skeptical on whether the other had some calculations in doing so, thus being very careful. Were someone else to give him a boon, he would either not accept it, or would inevitably grant something else to pay back the favor at once. Central Plainsmen focused on reciprocal etiquette, but there had to be a measure between the reciprocity. For example, if one family gave yours a half basket of chicken eggs, it would be no good to immediately give them a tray of steamed buns back, else it would just be a barter that completely cleared you both of relationship, expressed that you were not only unwilling to associate with the other family, but some would look down upon their intentions. You had to note the favor down, let a portion of time pass, then wordlessly return the gesture that would be regarded as reciprocal. Wu Shi only knew that Central Plainsmen focused on reciprocal etiquette, but he didn't know that his own way of doing it was extremely disrespectful in the eyes of others. At any rate, Jing Qi didn't have much of an understanding of him, only knowing that the kid wasn't too capable at going about things and had probably spent too long waiting around in the valley with the great shaman. He heard that he'd followed the man in cultivation and didn't even ever see his own parents and brothers, so he apparently didn't understand the ways of the world. It was especially so since the people over there were all comparatively unfettered, thinking however they would, then straightforwardly opening their mouth and speaking of what dissatisfied them, likely not thinking that things would be so convoluted. Wu Shi wasn't very willing to interact with Jing Qi on intuition, but he constantly felt that, no matter what mentality it had stemmed from, he owed Jing Qi something from the somewhat sincere warning he had given him that day. Rejecting Helian Qi was his pleasure, but rejecting Prince Nan Ning was inevitably a bit hard to do. The stuff infrequently sent over from his place was also in goodwill, and declining them was no good. Pretty much every time it happened, Wu Shi would plunder the whole estate to find something similar enough to give back. At the beginning, Ping An was extraordinarily dumbfounded, feeling that going to the hostage's estate to deliver a few everyday trifles was a lot like going to market. He'd go carrying a chicken, and was sure to have exchanged it for a few caddies of rice when he returned. Once learned the other's eccentricities later on, he didn't find his weirdness weird anymore. As it happened, Jing Qi had entered the palace to pay his respects the day before, then noticed that the unique tribute had come in from Nanjiang. Helian Pei was generous and promptly rewarded him with a lot of it, so, when he got back, he gathered up some of the novelties to make for an easy gift for him. It had made Wu Shi homesick to the utmost. In regards to the items, they weren't very valuable, but they had come from far away, were ultimately unseen in the capital, and were from his hometown, as well. The value within what he had given him was something he didn't know how to measure. How should he pay it back? This was the first time Ping An had brought something over and not gotten something else to bring back, making him inexplicably a bit self-proud. Jing Qi surmised that with him inviting him on top of saying that the crown prince would be there as well, the chaminette would be eager to take the opportunity to give face, all to return the favor from last time. Ever since he'd heard that High Scholar Lu was beginning to invite a crowd of officials to his birthday, he knew that Helian Yi was inevitably going to drag him along, so he began to mull over how he would make him and the chaminette meet face to face. Even if they were just walking together, when an outsider caught sight of that, some thoughts would sprout in their mind. Did it matter whether or not they were misunderstanding it? In any case, Helian Yi had a functioning brain, so he would naturally push the boat along with the current. Wu Shi presumably couldn't figure out anyone that from the court, so when the time came, he might get on the crown prince's pirate ship out of confusion. The thoughts Jing Qi had towards Helian Yi from his previous lifetime were already gone, but, he looked towards him as the other mentally counted on his little abacus, slightly regretful. In the end, though, the possibility of the great Qing's resurgence was relying on him. For how long he had lived, he was still someone of the great Qing. Some things he viewed lightly, but others, he had no choice but to take to heart. End of the chapter. Stay tuned for more BL.